What's up, hockey fans, and welcome to another edition of Just Winging It. This is episode 5, our quarantine coffee talk, and so far it's been a lot of fun. We've talked to a variety of guests, and we appreciate your support and sticking with us and hopefully being entertained during this downtime. Today's guest is a very special one from the league office. It is ECHL Commissioner Ryan Crelin, and thanks so much for doing this. First of all, how are you holding up? How's the family?
We're okay, thank you. Out here in New Jersey, we're kind of under lock and key, but following orders, and very happy to report everyone's healthy and safe. And I think we still have a ways to go, but we'll continue to do our part along with everybody else and get through this thing.
I got to ask if you've been able to find anything creative to stay busy during this time. I'm sure work has kept you busy, but anything you guys have been able to come up with at home to stay busy? Because obviously boredom starts creeping in.
Yeah, well, I will tell you, because of the anomaly of all this, focusing on the ECHL and next season has taken up the bulk of my time. Still a lot of questions to be answered, and under this work from home environment, one day seems to flow into the next, 1 week seems to flow into the next, but also an opportunity to be home with my family, which during the season unfortunately doesn't happen very often, so that's a good thing. The kids are being homeschooled, and thank goodness, technology being what it is, the world is at our fingertips.
I gotta say, if this quarantine lasts much longer, my hair is gonna start looking like your hair pretty soon, which isn't a bad thing, I gotta say.
Yeah. With the barber shops being closed as well, if you guys thought my hair was long before, we're in for a long run here.
We're joined by Ryan Crelin, the ECHL Commissioner. The way this unfolded, it happened so fast. I remember Kalamazoo, we had a game at home the night before everything really kind of unraveled across the sports world. March 12th, the ECHL decided to suspend operations. March 14th, cancel the rest of the season. What was that like to be a part of, front and center, behind the scenes, if you don't mind sharing?
A lot. I mean, chaotic. Things were moving so fast. Lots of people to talk to try and coordinate everything. Trying to address all the different, I'll say facts, but the facts were changing so rapidly at that time, and that continues to this day. But in concert with our board, our executive committee, the PHPA, we were trying to check as many boxes as possible and trying to predict the future. And while it was a very difficult decision, a very frustrating decision, and I spent countless hours on the phone in a period of 24 to 48 hours. I'm confident we got it right. Again, it's sometimes it feels like it's not the right decision, but I know it was.
You guys really took the lead, I guess, from a hockey standpoint, and I think it's a unique situation for the ECHL, being that most of the teams are small businesses, where as you go further up the ladder, obviously it's big business with exponentially more dollars at stake. But I think you guys deserve a lot of credit from a board of governors standpoint, and making such a swift decision, knowing the future of the business, I guess, is something that's a big concern. I guess, does that factor in at all to how quickly you guys decided canceling was the best option, as opposed to trying to drag it out into the summer? And I guess a follow-up is, do you think the AHL and NHL are close behind now that this is still going on?
Well, from our standpoint, trying to look at all the different factors in terms of our business model, knowing that we're small businesses, knowing that, our model is really predicated on fans, not just at the arena either, right? The ability to get out into the community and do the hospital visits and the school visits and that's the player access. That's who we are. And so we knew that was going to be taken out of the equation. We also wanted to stay within the terms of our CBA and also make sure we honored player safety. There were travel bans being talked about and eventually came to fruition. And so we were looking at all of those factors and when you start hearing it from both sides of the aisle, it just, you know, it's the route that you need to go. So we moved quickly, just looking it in the face and made the decision. In terms of the NHL and AHL, they have a different relationship, some different models. Certainly the NHL has TV contracts. So they have different factors that go into the equation. There's talks about them playing the season and the playoffs over the summer here. That may make sense for them, but it didn't for us. So everybody's got to look at their own situation and determine, all of the factors. Our goal was to come back just as healthy next season, make sure we had our teams, opportunities for players, and the opportunities for fans to enjoy ECHL hockey.
We open this forum really up to our fans for some questions. I'll get into a few of those in just a little bit. From on the ice time to shots on goal, penalties to goals scored, a coach has to rely on so much data to make their decisions. As a business owner, you're the coach for your business, and with better marketing data, you can make better decisions. Here's a tip for better data from Dan, the founder of My Pocket Marketing. Don't spend it if you can't track it. There's a smarter way for businesses to prove their marketing works. Visit mypocketmarketing.com/kwings to learn more. We're joined by ECHL Commissioner Ryan Crelin here. And one thing I think that's really special that this league and the hockey community did quickly after the season was canceled is they came together to support the players who obviously had their pay cut a few weeks early before the regular season was supposed to end. And you guys work closely with the PHPA on the Player Relief Fund, which included help from donations from the promotion of former ECHL All-Star Paul Bissonnette, who's a host of Spit and Chicklets, and many others. How great was that to see from your perspective, the hockey community come together to support those players?
Yeah, no question. I mean, from the early onset of the hours you just talked about back in March there and working with the PHPA, we knew we had to work together. We wanted to make sure we treated everybody equally. And again, we made some tough decisions. But in that discussion, we also knew that some of our members, some of our players would be affected more than others. And so we didn't quite know what it looked like. But we said on a number of those phone calls that we were going to try and work together to make sure we took care of those most in need. So over the coming weeks, we developed the fund. The fund is still ongoing. Contributions from the PHPA, from ECHL teams, from fans, from ECHL alumni, from NHL players. The agents are hosting a tournament to raise funds. And no matter big or small, I think it's just really been fun to see the ECHL community come together to support our own. Certainly didn't want to see it under these circumstances, but it's nice to see how we can come together like this.
It's obviously a very unprecedented time and a lot of uncertainty, which makes it difficult on leaders like yourself and the rest of the Board of Governors. A number that's really stuck out to me is around the country, there's 20 million people that have filed for unemployment. And so going, I guess, a step further from the great support that we've seen for our Player Relief Fund, obviously, how concerned are you about some of our member teams, their strength, and the fact that you guys got out in front of this as best as you could? And I look kind of to the front office employees as well, some employees that maybe were laid off or furloughed, and just kind of looking out for the general landscape of pro hockey.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm concerned for the ECHL, but I'm concerned for sports, even up to the highest level, and concerned for the economy. I mean, it's no secret here. I mean, the whole world has been kind of paused. Part of the discussion early on was to make sure that we limited the damage to our teams and business models so that we can come back with all those opportunities next season. That extends from the players to front office. We've created the player fund. The league has worked with our teams to try and manage through these tough times. And then you've seen the governments in both the U.S. and Canada come to the forefront and try and provide stimulus dollars to small businesses. So with all those factors included, I'm optimistic, but there's still a number of things that need to happen here so that we can get rip roaring for next season.
Absolutely. And our fans are already excited here for the possibility of what's to come next season in Kalamazoo. I can promise you that from what we've seen. One of our fans, Joanne, asks, I know it's hard to predict, but do you foresee a possibility of playing with no fans or limited fans in the stands next season? Is that feasible at this level?
For the ECHL model, again, to go back to what I said in terms of us being predicated on fans and being out in the community, I think it would be very unlikely for us to play with no fans. Maybe in the arena by doing some limiting factors or increasing hygiene and cleanliness. Maybe that's a possibility. I don't want to rule anything out. But our model and our product is most fun when there's people in the stands cheering, yelling, enjoying themselves in a sold out crowd. And, that's ultimately, we've got to get back to that.
I've got a fun one to throw at you, but it might be the hardest question you face today. It's what's your favorite ECHL mascot, to put you on the spot?
Well, we have two puffins in the Northeast, so that's fun. We also have two teams named the Thunder, so that's another one. And are we going just logo, or are we going true in costume mascot?
I think we're going, and if I understand Spencer's question, I think we're going like who's the closest to gritty, maybe is a good way to put it. The Philadelphia Flyers mascot.
Well, no hometown favorites here, but Slappy's always given me a chuckle. I've had good times with Slappy. Our Hockey Heritage weekend there back in 2016. I guess they all have their piece to them. I always like the name Solar Bears too. That was pretty original. But again, they all have their flair.
A couple of things that might be questions that I need to have a conversation with Joe Ernst about rather than yourself. But if you don't mind diving into a couple quick ones, Cameron wants to know, is there anything in the works to have two referees in the future, a four-man system, or is that something that at this level is tough to pull off?
Yeah, it's been talked about for years. There are a number of factors that prevent us from getting there. There's a financial aspect. There's a recruiting aspect. I do see us eventually getting there, especially as we further our relationship with the NHL and AHL and developing players, coaches, and also maybe getting deeper into the officiating pipeline. It's not on the docket for next season, and I'd probably say it'd be more of a phased-in approach than going, full boat 100% of all games. But it's something we address regularly. We just haven't found a way to get there yet.
Jeff wants to see the 10-fight rule gone, and I'm going to preface this, Ryan, with the fact that not a single player in the league reached 10 fights last year. We in Kalamazoo had the closest player. Ben Wilson had 9. But I guess, have you seen any feedback from the league office standpoint on that new rule that was put into place last year to kind of limit some of the extra fighting that we were used to seeing?
When we passed the rule, and mind you, it's new to us, but it's a rule that's been in the AHL for 4 or 5 years now. Mm-hmm. And so I think there's a little bit of resistance or backlash to change at the onset. And, I heard some things coming into October last year, but I'd say after November, I don't think I heard anything about it. And I think it just kind of went under the radar, and it didn't really become a factor. I mean, as you say, a couple guys were close to the number. But I almost want to go and say it was embraced. Again, it just really became a non-issue throughout the rest of the season.
Yeah, and it's always a polarizing topic. So I'm sure it's tough to make everybody happy, whether it's the people that don't like fighting or the people that want to see a lot of it.
Yeah, I mean, there's different thoughts on it. I mean, I don't think there's any question that fighting's been reduced in our game. It's become a more speed game, a more skill game. When we talked about it internally with our various committees, one of the teams that was very gung-ho for it had 3 players that had over 10 fights the prior year. So it's a little bit matter of perspective, but on the whole, like I said, it really became a non-issue.
We have a lot of longtime fans here in Kalamazoo, being that our franchise is about to enter our 47th season, that are used to a lot of markets in this area that were IHL markets. Fort Wayne and Toledo come to mind. They've had a lot of success at the ECHL level as well. Obviously, Kalamazoo's been in the league for a number of years now. Have you guys looked into any of those old IHL markets at all, like a Muskegon or a Dayton or a Peoria? Obviously, they have an SPHL team. This question comes from Jim.
Those markets particularly, no. There's some new buildings going up in that region that are of interest. Some of those markets have, as you mentioned, an SPHL team, so a team already in market. Some of in Dayton, the building and venue landscape has changed since we were there, or IHL days 10s, 20s years ago. But the Midwest is important to the ECHL. You've got a very strong central division, and we'll continue to look at markets in and around the area. They just may not be that of yesteryear.
We're joined by Commissioner Ryan Crelin of the ECHL on the 5th episode of Just Winging It. Business owners, what would it mean if you knew that for every dollar you spent, you'd earn back $5, $10, or more? Business owners who hold their marketing budgets accountable are more successful. My Pocket Marketing created a process to track the outcome of every marketing dollar spent. If you're ready to remove uncertainty from your marketing and make better decisions, head to mypocketmarketing.com/kwinks. I've got one more fun one for you, Commissioner, and it's about Winterfest in Toledo that's coming up again next year. Obviously, the first time this was done was 2014-15, and it was the first ever outdoor games in ECHL history, and Kalamazoo was fortunate to be a part of it. We're going to be back in Toledo to play the Walleye again, as will the Indy Fuel. How excited are you guys from a league standpoint to showcase the game outdoors again?
Yeah, I can't wait. I was there a few years ago for the original, and the crowd, the environment, the atmosphere, it was really something special. Also great to have Mr. Kelly be out there for the original as well. Would love to get him back out there this year to take it all in. We had him on his skates at 80 years old, whipping around the rink, getting the blood pumping. So, and if we're out there this year, it means everything's back to normal. We'll have good crowds, and it means ECHL hockey is well underway. So, really excited for that, and hope other teams look at that model and can find a way to do it in some of our other markets.
Well, I appreciate you taking some time out of your schedule to talk to us on this show that we started during this quarantine, and thanks for all that you guys do from a league standpoint. We appreciate your leadership and helping kind of lead the way here for us into what's kind of an uncertain time and hopefully hockey in the near future.
Yeah, no, appreciate it, John. Stay safe. We'll all get through this. It's a matter of time. We'll let the medical community do what they do best. And ultimately, I think we all realize now more than ever during this quarantine how important sports are to us. And so can't wait to see everyone back at the arena watching some good ECHL hockey.
Ryan Crelin, everybody, stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll talk to you soon.
Sounds great. Take care now.